Welcome to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Did you know protein isn't just for your muscles? It's fuel for your mental energy, focus, and mood, especially for women with ADHD and those navigating midlife. Eating late or sleeping poorly, that scrambles your hormones, zaps your energy, and leaves you feeling off balance the next day. The foods you choose every day shape your brain's power to plan, prioritize, and actually follow through. Now, this is the executive function few ever talk about. And when motivation disappears overnight, it's no mystery. Your brain chemistry has shifted. Tonight, discover how every meal is a chance to reboot your energy, focus, and drive. I'm joined by Amy Jones, a certified functional nutrition practitioner and certified ADHD coach at Amy Jones Nutrition. Amy, welcome to Empowered. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Oh, I can't wait. I love this. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here.
You're very welcome. So let's just dive in. Why are so many women being diagnosed with ADHD in perimenopause or postmenopause, especially those who've spent decades high achieving, holding it all together, and then masking the struggle?
Oh, my goodness. That's a whole lot because we're all thinking about healthy. Honestly, healthy has become a marketing word, not like a biological and chemical one anymore. It's gone. We don't use that word anymore. It's like a swear word in my world. To be honest with you, it's for years, I think, and I think this is where I bring it back to myself and where I'm bringing this to my own clients. I did everything I thought was right. I ate clean, whatever that means. I exercise, I push through, and that's what all of us do, right? All of us women do. And on the days that it didn't work, I told myself I needed more discipline. I needed more, I needed a tighter routine. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And what I know now is that discipline doesn't create the energy we actually need to do the things we need to do, especially at this stage in our life. It's biology, it's chemistry. So before I became a nutritionist, I spent more than 20 years as an educator, and I love my job, but I lived literally on caffeine and adrenaline. Okay. Constantly wondering why I could never just catch up or be like everyone else. There was always something missing. And then my son, my youngest son, was diagnosed with ADHD at age 6. And everything I thought I knew about life just totally shifted. And I did the deep dive trying to figure out how to support him. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is me also. And I think there's so many women who have been with me in this stage of their lives and they have found this. And I was labeled with everything but ADHD first. Anxiety, depression, BPD, burnout, hormonal imbalance. You literally have everything wrong with you except for ADHD because no one really understands what it looks like in women, especially in perimenopause, because of there's a myriad of factors here that we were not going to dive into, but I would love to. But it's a lot. And I think and these are the women that what I really am trying to do here is to support because they're exactly like me and to support them to, really see what's happening here.
So, Amy,
Right. Yes.
it's interesting because I had somebody on the show, and she was diagnosed at 42, and throughout her life, she actually, talked about the exact same stuff that you just did, and I think as little girls, we're told to sit, and not fidget, and be kind and be nice. Where boys are constantly zooming around, running, and being disruptive, and that's okay. And I think what's happening is we've all been raised to be calm or try to be calm and try to take care of everything. And as we get older, when we're struggling, as you said, I think every woman has gone through that caffeine diet where you need it for the adrenaline to keep you going because you're just going on fumes. When we come back from our commercial break, I want to talk more about hormonal shifts and how that affects women. Because as I said, There's so many women that are being diagnosed as they get older, and we need to get to the root cause of this beforehand. So please don't go away. We'll be right back with more. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today we're discussing your energy isn't about discipline. It's all about biology. So, Amy, just before we went to commercial break, I'd mentioned hormonal shifts. So how do hormonal shifts like dropping estrogen impact focus, emotional regulation, and mental clarity in ADHD?
Oh my goodness. It's
Yeah.
enormous. And I think and this is and to be honest with you, uh, it's it's hard for me standing here in front of you as a nutritionist. I'm a coach as well to say this in terms of because I think there's a lot of pushback because I think when I recommend, and this is something I do on a regular basis to my own clients, that they go to their GP or they go to a specialist around hormone regulation in terms of figuring out, do I need actual hormone supplementation in this stage of my life? Because I think we have been deprived as women for a very long time, um, without cause, and there's been zero research here. But I think that the biggest piece of this is that ho- the struggles that we have, especially at this stage in our life, and for so many of us in perimenopause with hormonal regulation, it has to do with not only does it have to do with like we're managing children, we're managing
Careers.
maybe elderly parents,
Yeah.
and then we're managing this giant career,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
this enormous. And then our estrogen is tanking. Our progesterone doesn't know what to do with itself. Our testosterone, nobody thinks about testosterone. That's a whole other world. All of those things become irregulated in a way that becomes and 100% affects how we use our brains, how our body functions, how every system in our body functions, right down to how we manage our blood sugar, right down to our digestion,
Yeah.
right and right up to how our brain works. So, it is so enormous. um, it's such an enormous topic, but I think the biggest and most important piece here about this is that I think and for me for sure, this is when a lot of women notice like, "Hey, something is not right here."
So, Amy,
And
speaking of noticing, what does ADHD actually look like in women, and why does it get missed or misunderstood for so long?
Mm, because a lot of it is internalized. So, especially, and I know this from my own perspective, I was a very high achieving. I was a people pleaser, like nobody's business when I was younger. All of that doesn't look like ADHD, but it does. It does for, especially for young girls. Um, because our hyperactivity can be internalized, especially when we're younger. And this is when we see it more when we're younger. And then as we grow and as we um, evolve and adapt to whatever environment might be required of us, those traits can be, you know, eh, sort of like showing themselves in a way that might not necessarily be shown as ADHD compared to what, say, like a younger boy or teenage boy would do in terms of hyperactivity, because we internalize it. So it's in our brain. So
Right.
when your brain isn't shut off at night, and oh my God, this is my biggest one.
Mine too. Mine too. My brain twirls all night long. So I get that.
Constantly. And then or you get stuck on something. Oh my gosh, I just had this the other night. I was thinking about somebody's blood work for like, I don't even know how many hours. And I woke up a million times because I was like, did I? Did I? Did I? And it's that piece that we're missing. And even with the work that we're doing, and even with the health that we're so conscious of, and we're eating all the right things, whatever those things are, that doesn't mean that we're actually hitting on all of the pieces that we need to do, because it's so specific to each of us and because of our hormone levels
It's
and
such
where
a
we are.
it really is a very individual thing for all of us. So when we come back from the commercial break, I want to talk to you a little bit more about women and ADHD, because I know so many women out there are suffering on a regular basis and have no idea what's going on with their lives. So please don't go away. We'll come back and discuss more women and ADHD. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today we're discussing your energy isn't about discipline, it's about biology and women and ADHD. Now, Amy, before we went to break, you were talking about sugar fluctuations. How do blood sugar fluctuations impact focus and energy throughout the day?
Oh my goodness.
Mm.
Literally, that is the entire impact of our focus for the entire day is our blood sugar fluctuations. So if we wake up in the morning and we feel like, I don't feel like this or I do feel like that, and we reach for something that doesn't have enough protein, it doesn't have enough fat, it doesn't have enough fiber, we eat that. What we do is we start the blood sugar roller coaster. We go up, we go down. As soon as we've used up all of that sugar, which is glucose, that's what we call it, and then it goes up, and then it goes down, and then it goes up. And so every time you go down, that is when your body is telling you, oh, wait, I need something else. Something's wrong. I feel weird. I should just go to the kitchen, or I should just go to wherever and get a whatever it might be, refined carb of some sort, or a coffee. We often do that too. Coffee and adrenaline is what half of us run on. Um, and so that cycle keeps perpetuating. And so we do the up and we do the down, and we do the up and then we do the down. And
And
that is a cycle we get stuck on.
yeah, well, you talk about getting stuck on, and we all try to start routines so that it helps us get further. But why, if you start a routine, why can't you sustain it even when you're totally motivated and committed to it?
Mhm. A lot of it has to do with, um, huh, if we think about motivation, okay, so there's motivation. When we think about that, it has a lot to do with dopamine, a lot to do with dopamine, the big neurotransmitters in our brain. So these are the things that we're trying to make. And especially if you have ADHD, these things, we don't make them in a consistent way, in the same way that um that a neurotypical, if we were to call them that, in that they would. So for example, if we were to eat something, we get a shot of dopamine, but then the tank after that, especially if it's sugar, is lower. But that dopamine level takes a lot longer, and it screams louder at us that we need more in order to get to the next, energy level. So our brain is like, wait a second, but I can't function until you give me this. So that dopamine level is really important here. I think if we were to think about it in the way of again, that same roller coaster where we go up and we down, where we go down and then we go up again. Um, there is these, fluctuations are extremely important in terms of blood sugar balance. And
But
so that's where food comes in.
so, Amy, we talked about routines, but there's also procrastination and genuine mental burnout or undernourishment. So, can you talk about that as well?
Yes. So I think that general undernourishment comes from a myriad of things, but one of them is that our brains, especially with ADHD, don't necessarily use specific nutrients in the way that we need them. And a lot of that has to do with, it could be genetic factors. It could be just your body is not necessarily able to digest things. Like B12 is one of those things that I see a lot of that um, you can't actually digest in your gut. So like no matter what you're eating, you can't actually like get it into your bloodstream. And so for in that specific instance, I would be, instituting some sort of like drop, B12 drop, or like a sublingual tablet where it goes under your tongue because it bypasses the digestive system. These things are really important to understand with ADHD. Magnesium is a huge one. It's enormous. And I think, and a lot of it has to do just with our soil, um, not in North America in particular, not actually having the amount of nutrients that we need or that we would have had. Honestly, when we
Amy,
grew up,
hold that thought.
20
I'm
to,
really sorry, but we need to go to commercial
no,
break.
it's
And I
okay.
want to talk about magnesium and nutrients. So please don't go away.
Mhm.
We'll be right back with more.
Okay.
Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today we're discussing women and ADHD. Your energy isn't about discipline, it's about biology. And I'm joined by Amy Jones, a certified functional nutrition practitioner and certified ADHD coach at Amy Jones Nutrition. Now, Amy, before we went to commercial break, you were talking about how important B12 is and magnesium and other nutrients. One of the questions, I want you to continue about nutrients, but one of the questions I wanted to ask was, is it better to take magnesium at night or during the day?
Oh, that's a great question. And it's complicated. Um, it depends. It depends. So because magnesium has such a spectrum of options for us, I think it's we have to make sure that we're taking the right magnesium at the right time. So magnesium citrate, for example, is something that I would suggest for someone in a specific form, especially in a powder form for someone who maybe has constipation. And this is something I see a lot, especially with ADHDers, especially with stress. It's a big deal. It backs everything up. When stress happens in our bodies, our digestion literally shuts down, like it stops. It's like a whole bunch of garbage trucks just like stopped. So when we add in types of magnesium that can actually relax the colon, relax our digestive system in a way that can help to release some of this. This is a big deal. There's different types of magnesium in terms of bisglycinate, which is a little bit more has a bit more of a relaxing function, especially around neurological function. Also, magnesium L-threonate, which is something that can bring some of the racing thoughts, the tension, the exhaustion, and the this motivation where we can't stop and like shut off can really be so powerful, especially for a lot of women at this stage. And the reason is we're not we're not getting it from our food anymore because our soil is not providing the nutrients we need to the foods that we're eating.
So,
That is the
Amy,
core.
so you were talking about gut health, and I think this is really important for everyone to tune in on because I want to understand, how does your gut health influence your mood, your resilience, and the ability to focus or regulate in your daily life?
Oh my gosh. It's an enormous question. I'm going to try to simplify it as much as I can. I think in terms of what I see on a regular basis and what I know from my own experience is that the majority of the food we eat, we don't even digest properly in our stomach to begin with. We are, especially as we age, we produce less stomach acid. That is just a natural thing. That is totally okay, but it's very important to understand in that there's ways that we can support this in order to break down especially things like protein, because protein is the thing that we need to build neurotransmitters to support hormones, hormone production, like estrogen and progesterone that we need at this stage of our life. So you can eat like, and especially with all of the, social media things that are happening, where you should have 30 grams for protein, whatever the number, it doesn't matter. What matters is, are you even digesting that protein? That is what matters. And that is what I always start with. If you're not digesting that, I don't care how much protein you're eating, because you're not even using it. Because what it does is, then it's undigested protein. It ferments in your stomach. It creates, for some people, it creates
Amy,
acid reflux. Yes.
that unfortunately, we're out of time, and this has been incredibly enlightening. Thank you so much for being on Empowered today.
Thank you so much.
Amy wants you to know exhaustion is not a character flaw, especially for women with ADHD. It's a biological signal that your systems are out of sync. You don't need more discipline. You need support that fits how your brain and body actually work. When you learn how to read your own patterns, protect your blood sugar, balance your sleep and your structure, energy stops being something you chase. It becomes something you build. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski, and I'm here to empower you and make frugality fashionable. Bye for now.